It's starting.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Lift off. One of my newer ones.
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, folks. Here we are again.
Tony Caravan.
You've been subjected to a highly sophisticated form of propaganda.
It's just what you need, and not what you don't.
And I guess
I am your main connection to the switchboard of souls. I'm the magic man.
if you take generic root beer and you add in a little bit of instant coffee, which I've done, it kind of foams up. It's like one of those things. If you eat a Three Musketeers bar, like if you just put it in your mouth, start to chew it, don't completely chew it, and then take a drink of like a Diet Pepsi or Diet Coke, it like foams up in your mouth. Tony Caravan with you. I wasn't necessarily going to be here today. I've already shot another video yesterday afternoon, which is a garden video in slow-mo that gives you a little bit of my garden. But I got up at 3 a.m. today. It's 4 o'clock exactly here, Eastern Standard Time in the former United States. I'm coming to you from the mid-Atlantic states. And the temperature outside our studio audience today, well, we don't have a studio audience that I know of. I mean, except for these people here. But really, are more like that. But outside our studios, it's 54 degrees. And it's going to get up, I don't know, at least to 60, maybe 70 this afternoon. It's going to be 70s for the next couple of days. So I'm out in the garden, and that's why I did a garden video. And you can see that wherever this video is being shown. Now, that wouldn't be under live. It would be under garden videos, or it just would be in line. I'm trying to add some caffeine to root beer. Let's see if that thing works. So this is part deux, and I'm calling this the duality of existence in 2021. We're worlds apart most of the time. So, and I gave Trey Fergus the credit on that. That's one of his sunrise photos, which he does religiously every morning, I believe, or mostly every morning. He's a good photographer. And other talents as well. So anyway, I just wanted to jump right into this, besides the usual Tony Caravanisms, just to remind you about that garden video. Since we're having it looks like a solid week where the nighttime temperatures aren't going to dip below 50. And the daytimes are going to be 70s mostly, with maybe a 60 something. I'm going to put my cooler weather crops in the ground, and I've already started to do that. And if you watch that other video, you get a slight feel for it. But today I'll probably post either another video, or you can go to my Instagram account, which is more or less just kind of a journal of my garden. Why is this important? How does this tie into the duality of existence, the duality of man? Well, that's what I do. All right. That's nature. It's like the photo of the sunrise, and those birds and the beach and the ocean. I mean, that picture, if you look back at that title card, there's a lot going on there. And It's the same with if you look at the garden video and as you will watch the garden progress as things start to grow, come to life, and feed me and other people. That's the duality. Because for so many people, they're caught up in this, like I've said before, like the cubicle of their house, so the room within their house. Then maybe they get in the cubicle of their car, right? And then they go to work into some kind of cubicle, right? Office, work carol, you know, some kind of divided space. And it's like this is their existence. And then they go into this virtual cubicle, either the rectangular, screen, on one of these black mirror devices, right? Where's my face? Face within a face. Look at see face within a face within a face within a face. How do you explain that? Because this thing, that's the magic mirror. It's the black mirror too. Remember, it's witchcraft. Beware. This is a sponsored video by the morning show gear. And of course, great solar stuff. Oh, remember I told you I always test everything? I just got this yesterday. Oh, I charged this thing yesterday. This is the weather radio thing.
To 0.03 inches.
Out in the sun yesterday. Charge is nice. I saw some guy. I did a thing a couple of weeks ago on this Jackery thing. You could plug in, it's a power thing. And I did like a demonstration usage of it, whatever video. I got about 2 views. I saw some guy was up to like 37,000 views on it. And of course, my book over there, Codex. Great solar stuff. But here's the thing. Enough of that. So I got I have a shirt that goes game over. And it's kind of nice graphic and everything. Right? But it's like one of those boat head hats. That's what I call them. I mean, see, compare it to... Let me move into the light here a little bit better. You see how it has that high crown on it? And it's one size fits all. Game over. It's a great song. It's one of the few songs, that and Bigger Than That, that have gotten national airplay. When I say national airplay, they've been on like stations that have... Sometimes if you like bend these things and roll them up, I don't know. I guess I'll try putting it in the washer. But what I'm saying is I always test my stuff out. And so if you don't like... I like these flat. Sometimes they call them a poplin hat. Or it's like your basic baseball cap. I don't go for the ones with the big crown. But I actually know people who do. So I'm not going to take it down, but I'm just giving you fair warning that. But that logo is really nice. Game over. In that like game 1980s video game type. So anyway, Tony Caravan with you. It's another morning. It's another day. And
I am your main connection to the switchboard of souls. I'm the magic man.
And this isn't bad. I wouldn't say it's like necessarily that good. I shook this up. So I'm wondering if it's going to pop. It did pop. So I'm going to pour some of this in here. This was mostly coffee. This is how all the Tony Caravan lives usually start. I'm phasing out of this though because it's going to be more garden than this. But I just happened to get up so early today, and I wanted to explain why that garden video was up, and that you'll probably see another one go up. And when they go up, it'll be considered the next day's morning show. Gets sticky on the mustache. I have to trim my mustache, I think, finally. I guess. Yeah, it tastes, you know, if you're curious of the taste, it tastes like root beer with coffee in it, you know. In other words, sometimes you make a thing and it blends. This doesn't blend. It's like root beer with coffee in it. But what the hell? I wanted caffeine. I could walk up. There's a convenience store, I don't know, several blocks up the street. I think it's open 24 hours a day. I just didn't feel like going up there this morning. I was going to buy like a Diet Pepsi or something stupid like that. I just wasn't in the mood. So back to this. Let's stick to this theme. This one, I don't think is going to run really too long.
Toto, I have a feeling we're not in Kansas anymore.
Yeah, that kind of sums it up. So, you know, you take the sunrise, like I said. You take the beach scene. You take the birds, nature, gardening, you know, all the critters out there, even your pets, you know, life. And as I always talk about, your five senses, you know, two people intertwined, bodies intertwined. All right. Listening to some good music, or just the sound, the peace and quiet, or the serenity of nature, maybe some birds chirping. Or loud rock music or whatever you're into. And, you know, smelling, you know, flowers if that's your thing, or, you know, the aroma from, you know, actually fresh brewed coffee. I used to always love the smell of that. And then of course the taste, you know, the tastes of foods, you know, classic foods, and how, and the, you know, the idea of what I was saying about this, you know, the you know, the specific way that I can taste and tell you that it just literally tastes like almost like two different things at once. It just, they don't blend. But it's not bad. You know, it's not like, oh, this is a failure, I'm going to throw it away, dump that out. I'll just drink some coffee, or dump that out and I'll just have a root beer. I have some diet black cherry soda in there, and that's my favorite flavor. But anyway, so you look around, and I was said before that, you know, so you've got these people in this cubicle. I was looking at some numbers today regarding this plague thing, and I saw, you know, they're still using, they use hard numbers. They don't want to use percentages. And there's a method behind that madness. You know, it's basically based upon, you know, what first you need to realize is what, as Roosevelt said, one of the
only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
And so what it is it's fear mongering, and it's figures lie and liars figure, as I always say. In other words, people use raw numbers or percentages when one or the others works to their advantage to fearmonger or to get their point across. You know, it's like the car salesman I talk about, TV, you know, when they're trying to get a point across. Politicians will do that too, you know. But the thing about that, it's very deceptive and it's fear mongering because when especially when it's so drastic, right? And it deals with such a serious issue to so many people. If it was just some casual thing, you would just like, brush it off. Who cares? They said 10% instead of, or they said 30 million instead of less than 10%. Okay, well let's talk about this just to get this out of the way. And this deals with the duality of existence in 2021. If you go to I noticed it on Yahoo's weather site. Like what are they doing posting that on Yahoo's weather site? See, they're trying to get people everywhere they can. It's the same as they've got these death tolls in the corner of TV screens now. Still, not now, still. All right. Okay. So the official number that they're putting out there, that they're updating daily, right, is they show 30 million cases, 30 million and change. All right. Now, that is like mind blowing. 30 million cases. Wow. You said 30 million cases? Man, wow. Right? That's your reaction. That's the reaction of the average person, right? 30 million? Well, in a country of 332 million people, that's less than 10% of the population. Let me say that again. In a country of 320 million people, at least, doesn't count people who they don't count, right? But the official number is 320 million, I believe, right now. 30 million and change is less than 10% of the US population. That's only cases. Okay? That's people who caught it. It has nothing to do with any degree of symptomology, illness, hospitalization, or anything like that. That's like this. That means that only, and I stress only, less than 10% of the people in the United States caught this thing over the past 2 years now. Right? Almost 2 years. Because it's been around. All right? It's been around. But, if you want to say 1 year and you want to go down that road, that's fine. But it's been around for 2 years. Now, if that, that means over 90% of the people didn't even get it. Right? Plus, we know there's treatments, which some consider even cures. And something like over 2/3 of the people by the end of this month are also going to have, shots. Okay. So now we're entering into Psychoville. Okay. Then they have the so-called death rates. And they say something like 600,000 people died. Okay. Now we take those numbers, but we know that they're exaggerated. Motorcycle accident deaths, they chalk it off to this, blah, blah, blah. But let's assume, which we should never assume, but let's just take their numbers on face value. Okay. 600,000 people. Oh my God. How could they have allowed this to happen? Get the gallows out for anybody who was in political office during this period, right? Figures lie, liars figure. What is 600,000? Well, out of 320 million Americans, okay, former United States, all right, this empire fell. as did Western civilization, as did Henry Kissinger. He calls us useless eaters. We must eliminate the useless eaters. Henry Kissinger. 600,000 people in a country of 320 million people is less than 1/6 of 1%. Let me repeat that. Less than, or approximately, almost exactly actually, 1/6. 1/6. Okay. Let's put that down so in case you don't get it. One-sixth of 1%. Okay. Okay. 1/6 of 1%. Let that sink in your head for example. 1/6 of 1%. So this is less than 1%, but only 1/6 of that 1%, which means over 99% of Americans did not die and will not die from this thing. And less than 10% of the people even caught it. Okay? But when you look at the numbers, the way they present them, figures lie and liars figure, right? They're doing it for their goals. And yes, the numbers on themselves look big, but when you deal with probability and statistics and numbers, look, 600,000 people die every year of cancer in the United States. That's every year, not just like for some novel thing. That's every frickin' year. And almost that many die of heart disease every year in the former United States of America. Okay? So you don't see those numbers on the screen because the FDA is approving drugs for those things so that these big pharma, can make big money, right? Selling drugs, to just, treat these things but they won't cure them. Right? This thing, on the other hand, actually has more successful treatments than cancer drugs and heart disease drugs. Certainly for cancer drugs. I know I'm a cancer survivor. So far, knock on wood, 1 year. You don't have any choice. You have like 3 choices when you've got cancer. 1, they try to cut it out. 2, they try to give you some mega dose, radiation, to zap it out of you. And 3, you get into this chemotherapy, others, some other kind. It's all radiation. It's either the blade or some kind of radiation procedure. Okay. Unless you eat a lot of broccoli or stuff like that, supposedly, but they don't tell, they don't want to let us know of any holistic or other things, or that the state of grace may cure it. The power of prayer, meditation, who knows? 1/6 of 1%. They'll never say that on any station. And there are treatments, some of which are considered, quite frankly, cures because people have gotten recovered within 48 hours. All right. 1/6 of only 1/6 of 1%. And like I said, according to whatever, something like close to 2/3 of the country is going within the next several weeks will probably all have the shot and stuff. Now, do you understand the duality of existence? Right. So you've got Guys like me out in the garden, nature, living life, right? Doing things, cut the cord to TV, not watching any of that stuff. I just happened to notice these official numbers on the Yahoo website. And it wasn't, I went to Yahoo for anything. No, it was the weather. I just want to see what the temperature was outside. If it really was only 50 something. Because you can't trust the weather anymore. It changes on a dime, as they say. So imagine the duality here, the mindset of people and the fear that they have because they don't see this. They see 600,000, right? They don't see that nobody says less than 99%. You see? Well, 1/6 of 1% or less than 99%. Now, if that doesn't prove to you what the game that the media and the politicians and big pharma, and these globalist authoritarians, have an agenda, which has a name, by the way, it's called Agenda 2030. Then you are, for lack of a better word, an idiot. Or like this other guy I was watching, you're a fool. Might be a better word. You're a fool. You're being played for a fool. Okay? That's the duality in 2020, 21 of our existence right now. But the thing is, a lot of times when you think of the word duality, you kind of almost think of a 50-50 split, right? But, this is like 1/6 of 1%. Now, granted, the numbers are, like I say, the numbers are large, right? Excuse me. I'm sorry. My nose is itchy and I don't want to sneeze. I tell you that all the time. People will say, I know somebody who's sick, who got it. And I know people who die. I know somebody who died from it. And, that's an interesting thing because the cancer numbers, of course, you go to the CDC website and look at causes of death. So cancer numbers are about the same, almost about the same. We're talking cancer deaths, all right? And if you talk to the average person, you'll say, I know myself and everybody I know. Everybody probably knows somebody who's gotten cancer and probably knows somebody who died of cancer, a relative, a friend, spouse or something. So, that like excuse, so to speak, that just, the social media thing for what's up, the comeback is, well, no, this is real because I know people that got sick. And I know people that died. Yeah. Well, when you deal with like 600,000 people, you're going to have, spread out over like 50 states. Okay. That's, what is that? If it was 500,000, let's just do the basic mental math, right? 50 states. If it was 50,000, that would be 1,000 per state. So if it's 50,000, that's 10,000 per state. And divvy that up. Some states are small. So yeah, the thing is that practically everybody would logically know somebody, know multiple people who got it because it was 10% of the people got it. They didn't get seriously ill, but some did. So they would definitely, everybody probably knows people that got it and some that got sick. And probably everybody knows or knows of, not necessarily knows firsthand, but knows of secondhand at least, people or, person or persons who died. And we use the example of cancer since it's 600 some thousand people a year die of cancer in the US. But over 99% of the people in the US don't die from cancer every year. But it is a yearly thing, unlike this, which isn't. Okay. This is a novel thing. So we have this duality. We've got these people scared to death, all right, being fed numbers, this whole concept of
The only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
that it's fear itself. Because see, unlike cancer or unlike anything else, this thing has treatments that will actually cure it. This thing actually has a, if you, want to do it, you can get, a shot in the arm. You can't get a shot in the arm for cancer, And like I said, the treatments they give you, well, it's basically a roll of dice. You have to keep getting tested for like the rest of your life, even when you have the operation. A friend of mine had the operation, had his cancer removed for several years, tests came up negative. And this past year, suddenly his numbers were up again, and he had to go in and go 30 consecutive days for radiation treatments. Now his numbers have come down again. So, that's not, that's a whole different world. So these networks, this is just fear mongering. This is authoritarianism trying to bring in this social platform or passport thing and just messing with people's heads. It's a duality of things. People who live in fear and somehow have learned to thrive on it and like get involved in it and live for it, and they just won't, they did, and who have lost touch with life, with just living life. Because when there's something that's that small, 1/6 of 1%, oh, it's upside down, 1/6 of 1%, when 99% plus of the people, and in younger people, it's 99.98% of the people won't die of it. 99.98% of people under, I think, the age of 45 or something like that. Somewhere in there, give or take, whatever the number is. So basically, most people, and the thing about the 1/6 of 1% who died, the average age of people who've died from this it coincides with the average age of death in the US. Think about that weird concurrence, coincidence. The average age of the person who has died, one of the 1/6 of 1%, is the same as the average age that the average person will die anyway in the US. Imagine that. And look at what's going on. Look at the mayhem, the craziness, and how the media is pushing this, and politicians are trying to capitalize on it, passing laws, and And the corporatocracy is like doing this money grab, right? Stealing trillions of dollars, destroying everything and trying to bring in this totalitarian, police state, whatever you want to call it. And so unless they've got a bioweapon, like I'm saying, like even this week, I was out in the backyard yesterday and it was like 80 degrees in the way I have my patio set up where I have my garden. I'll try to get that in a video somehow, but I mean, you can't really, how could you show, I'll show you, I'll show a picture of the thermometer, but I mean, it's hard to get, it's just like, it's like smell-o-vision, I can't tell you what this coffee root beer smells like, and it's the same with temperature, you could see somebody sweating maybe, or I could show you a thermometer, but yeah, it was like 80 degrees and sunny. And you know what that means? Or do you? That means the UV rays, that there was no living bacteria, viruses, or anything of the sort in my backyard yesterday. Okay. Because the latest numbers that came out from CDC or WHO or whatever, that this thing is I said it the other day, is 6 times more susceptible to UV rays. 6 times more. Meaning the thing is, it pretty much, you put, you're in the sun and this thing's pretty much like toast within seconds. Gone. Can't, disintegrates. So that's why you wash your hands with hot soapy water. Antibacterial wipes and stuff like that don't matter because this thing isn't bacteria. It's it's virus. It's the heat. And actually, what a lot of people don't know, just a little side, it's actually the rubbing when it's like washing your hands when you're doing this. And, you do it like that, get in that fingernails and do this and get in there really good like that, right? With just soap, but hot water, just hot enough that it's obviously not going to burn you, but close right at the point before it would almost burn you. Okay. So that temperature is higher. And it's what you're doing is the vibration or the rubbing, the hot water and the soap is basically wiping all of that stuff off of your hands. It's different than if you have like paint on your hands or some kind of dirt or something. These things are susceptible. You can, but yeah, sunlight. So, the idea is to get out in that sun in that bikini or that bathing suit, take that shirt off, wear those shorts, sleeveless shirts at the very least. Take the cap, I take my cap off, get that sun, breathe in that hot air, let the UV go up your nostrils. Blow your nose too when you come in. A lot of people don't understand that aspect too. When you come back from the store, blow your nose too. But yeah, this duality of existence. So on one side, you have these people who are, that no matter how I present this, you want to come down here? Come here. Come here, kitty. You want to come down? Come on down. So it's game over, It's game over. for these people. They just can't, they just don't see it. You know, actually, where's that thing? I need that. Come on. My little area of devices. Look at this little bit of alien tech. This landed in my backyard yesterday. Like a noise like no. It's a mini tripod. I'm going to be using this on a webcam if I do a broadcast from my bar. I have a computer in there that plays music. And that's all I've really been using it for, because it's an older operating system and it doesn't even do the internet well. Forget about email, because it's a conspiracy with Apple, Google, Chrome, all of them, Firefox. They all conspire and nobody gets them on it. But that they upgrade the system and says, okay, you can't use this application anymore on that machine, which is a bunch of bull. They basically just want you to upgrade. They want you to do two things. They want you to buy a new program, preferably a cloud-based program, or B, they want you to buy a new machine, or C, both is what they really prefer, right? So get a new machine, or go through this extortion program of paying monthly for your software, for cloud software, instead of just buying the box and owning a CD or whatever, right? That's why I use older computers, because I used to buy software. So I have the box and I have the hard copy, but I have to keep them disconnected from the internet. Because if you connect it, like for example, on this one,
the only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
Those audio files are coming from a computer that I have the audio out, feeding into the audio in on the computer I'm using here to do this live broadcast. But that's not connected to the internet. Because if I connected it to the internet, I have some Adobe software, InDesign, Photoshop. I have an old Illustrator on there. I have something called Freehand, which is nice. I've got a program that can record audio, from things, any audio from any source. But what happened is the moment you hook that up and you open one of those programs, it'll go communicate with the cloud and then send down, a little thing to make that program not work anymore. Yeah, that's what they do. Yeah. It's like this thing, this older iPhone I have, right? The battery, I went through like a major thing to get this to work, because the battery had died. I left it sitting around because it's old. It's one of my first ones. And on it, I had a Sirius satellite app. But I had to go through such procedure to try to refresh the battery to get it charged and put it through this other thing. And what it did was it cleaned it, reset itself, And so when I went to get to the Sirius site to download the Sirius satellite app, okay, it wasn't available for this, no longer available for this model. And the problem is, and I don't know if I have it here or not. I have it somewhere. I don't know where it is. I have to show it. I don't know where it is, but I have a thing that you see how the bottom of this is different? that long, wide, old way you connected and charged, this plugs into a thing that goes into like a cigarette lighter in a car. Okay. And then I've got the antenna that connects to that magnetic thing you could put on your roof. And then this plays broadcast FM, this other thing I have that attaches that works with this phone. It was designed for this one. And then that'll play through your FM radio, the satellite radio. And I was going to, and either there were two reasons I wanted that on there. One, I was just going to have that hooked up on there and sell that whole thing on eBay or something. I figured somebody who wants Sirius satellite, that would be like, I'd sell them the whole thing for, I don't know, $25-$30 or something, less than $50. But they'd have a Sirius satellite radio for, their extra car or their truck or something, And plus Sirius has those free weekend type things every now and then and stuff like that. And it would be a cool thing to have. But no, they make it no longer available. Well, why? You know why? I mean, the device works. I mean, I'll show you actually here. Let's see how this. See, it's starting up. This is like one of the original. Look how thick it is. This is like one of the original iPhones. I've always been like right on technology. I criticize it all the time, but it's not like I'm what they call a Luddite. No, I've had everything before anybody else. I was on the internet. I was making websites before people knew what websites were. I had email way before AOL, You've Got Mail. Actually, I had email in the 80s. Yeah, 1985. I had an email account. I was sending email. Now, it's an older thing, so it's going to take a little while to start up. It hasn't been started. There you go. It's hard to see because it's bright, but here, let me just do this. Slide. There it is. Fully functional. Right? But no, they won't let me download a Sirius app for this phone. But things work on it, There's the clock, Cupertino, New York. Here's weather. It says it's 39 degrees. That can't be true. It better not be true. Better not be 39 degrees. It's supposed to be 50. I don't know what that is. That's a different place. Let's see here. Something else just so you get the idea. Oh, the camera. You can take pictures. And most importantly is what I use it for is music. I play music. So I put the headphones on. I'll shut that off. So it could work, but they just refuse. And it's the same with old computers. They won't allow you to download an older mail program for that thing. It's just mail. IMAP, POP, whatever. So anyway, but back to this. Though that's part of the duality of existence in 2021 is this idea of that's more of like what I've talked about in a previous video, the breakaway civilization, where it's like if you're willing to spend all of your money basically be a slave, a wage slave, or house, underwater with your house poor, live from paycheck to paycheck. What do they say? 6 meals away from turning into a zombie psychopath, right? Breaking into somebody's house for food or something. That's it. And then or your guys like me who basically just like figured things out 5 or 6 years ago, maybe 7, and just scaled down my life to where I could afford to do what I wanted to do and retire without the burden of having financial worries for the rest of my life, because I cut my costs down so much by buying a cheaper house, so-called fixer-upper type of thing, which has some problems, but it's it's a perfectly fine house. If I were married and had a kid or something, I mean, I've got, like I say, a finished attic, which could easily be a kid would love to have that space, because it's like almost twice the size it's the whole floor width of the second, it's the third floor almost. And so it's like the whole width of the second floor. But I've got 2 bedrooms on the second floor, 1.5 baths. All right, which everyone should have. I have this small front room, but I have a big kitchen and I have a backyard and an attached garage. And I pay, like I said, less than $200 mortgage, taxes, and insurance a month. I'm not out in the middle of nowhere. Like I said, there's a convenience store a couple blocks up the street, a bar next to that, right? Garage just 1 block up the street if you need and the guy sells cars too, cheap, like for $3,000, $4,000 he fixes cars. Down the street there's like a comic book store, there's a pizza shop, there's a gym. This is just all within walking distance. A supermarket, another restaurant, things like that. That's like all like walking distance, just down the street. Yeah. And I pay less than $200 a month mortgage, taxes, and insurance. That's it. It's crazy. So, that's not only breakaway civilization, but that's the duality of existence in 2021. Those of us who, realize
the
that
only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
That we realize that the only thing you have to fear is fear itself, and that the real number is 1/6 of less than 1%, 1/6, right? Which means less than 99%. Okay, that you can't dispute that. And I'm the type of guy that, it's like in yesterday's video, I always have the comebacks, like I gave you the cancer comeback, that this thing, cancer's far worse than this, and yet this thing has treatments and shots. And it's on its way out, and it's susceptible to things like, UV rays and stuff like that. And if you have basic hygiene, even, you're pretty much totally ahead of the curve. But yeah, everybody knows somebody who's gotten it. Multiple people, perhaps, because about 10% got it. But only 1/6 of 1% died. And the majority of those were already at the age when most people die. With exceptions, like I say, that's the average. So yeah, a few young, 99.98% of younger people under 40 or so, haven't died, but 0.02%, right, have. I mean, but that's why I say the figures lie and liars figures, but these are such minuscule numbers. Now, if it happens to be a loved one of yours, well, it's personal and it's tragic. It's tragic for all of us when anybody, as a human being, for the sake of humanity, any death is a tragedy. But I'm saying in the grand scheme of things, number-wise, the way they're making people this fear-mongering is totally unwarranted. Totally unwarranted. And it's nothing more than fear-mongering for the sake of this totalitarian takeover by the corporatocracy. I mean, there's no argument to that. There's no comeback. I gave you the comeback, if they try to, say something. Just compare it to heart disease or cancer or many other diseases. Over 2 million people a year die from all kinds of diseases, including the flu and pneumonia and stuff like that. Influenza, which is what it's called. And the flu and pneumonia. It's all part of the thing. I think we have a more serious issue with suicide in America. Because that's an annualized thing too. So in the past decade, as many people died of suicide as they have from this thing. So what kind of existence is that for people? Talk about the duality of existence. That people find life so unbearable, right? That as many people that have, allegedly keeled over from this thing have actually just found life so unbearable that they took their own life in the past decade. Same number of people. So nobody talks about that stuff because they don't want to. That's how you know that they're up to something. That's how you know that it's fear-mongering. That's how you know that they're using this for political, social engineering purposes. And that's another duality of existence in 2021. It's those that are into the politics of pop culture and what I call the cult of personality. And those people like me who've basically given up on, who think politics is a joke because they realize that governments are run by the corporatocracy. That's just a business. And the corporatocracy is basically organized crime syndicate, right? Now people think of, but that politician is such a nice man. Or that woman, she's such a nice girl. Yeah. She's part of an organized crime syndicate. Right? Some of the most brutal dictators in the past, picked up kids, right? And gave them, loved their children or relatives, loved their wives or girlfriends or spouses, right? Has nothing to do with anything. You look at the old, the mobsters and other organized crime figures. And it was all about family, right? The family. It was all about family. No, this world is run by an organized crime syndicate. I call it the corporatocracy. Other people call it the World Economic Forum, the Davos set, the Bilderbergers. The people who are trying to push the Great Reset and who are fear-mongering and are using figures, figures lie and liars figure. And don't dare want to flash something like this on the screen. Got a coffee stain on there already. 1/6 of less than 1%. Less than 99%. And you got these ladies in their car with the windows up, 80-degree weather, wearing a mask, all alone in their car, with the windows up and a mask in their car. Scared to death. Because they're watching TV and they see these numbers flashing up. 600,000. 30,000. 30 million cases. So what? There's 320 million people in the country. That's less than 10% of us. Caught it. I was tested last year, as I said before, because I had to have a tooth thing. And I was like, they said, you can't come in unless you get a test. I had a test, tested negative. But, you know, a month or two ago, I was like pretty sick. And I thought I had it. Maybe I did. I bought a thermometer, but my temperature was okay. But, you know, so I may well have had it. I don't know. Because I didn't get tested a second time. Because I had nowhere to go. You know. And I wasn't encountering anybody. You know. So it didn't matter. So if I got it, then one would assume I would have built an immunity to it. One would assume. But we mustn't assume anything. So this duality of existence is really something to behold. You know, how we could, you know, and that's why when I talk about irreconcilable differences too, and how the US is, you know, is a empire, you know, is it basically the empire's fallen, you know, and it'll never come back together because we have irreconcilable differences, right? What's more, the duality in this country in 2021, red state, blue state, Republican, Democrat, CNN, Fox, right? Left, right, you know, conservative, what, socialist, Democrat now. I would say liberal, but it seems liberalism is, you know, a thing of the past. You know, that would be considered almost center. You know, centrist. If you're a liberal, you would be a centrist. In the true sense of like a traditional liberal. So yeah, it's irreconcilable differences. This duality. You know, there's people that want, you know, are afraid of words, certain words. There's other people who say sticks and stones will break my bones, but names will never hurt me. You know, who don't, you know, shrivel up because somebody says a word. Right? There's people caught up on, you know, race and religion and things like that. And there's other people who say, like, who cares? I walk down the street and I see, you go into any city, this is a real funny thing. Nobody really talks about anymore because they've got people brainwashed. It's just like these numbers, you know, like this, where they don't show this. It's like this whole like color thing now, skin tone color thing. You know, I traveled all over the place. And I'm a little more stationary now. I'm a lot more stationary now because I just that's my part, the duality of life here, because I'm more into nature and my things and the stuff I do. But I traveled enough. I traveled more than, you know, 1,000 people did. You know, 1 in 1,000 people would travel as much as I did. Maybe 1 in 10,000. Could even be higher. But everywhere I'd go, and even today when I go to the supermarket or, you know, a store to pick something up, even a bar or a convenience store, I constantly see interracial couples. I constantly see a white, whitish woman pushing a child who is clearly interracial, or a black woman pushing a child that is clearly interracial, right? I see a couple kids running down the street after school and they're white and black and Asian, Latino. So it's like, I wonder, and especially in the city, more so in the cities, and I'm on the outskirts of town that's kind of a smaller town. But especially in the cities, and I've lived in the cities, and lived and worked in the cities. And this is even years ago. And it was always the case like that. So that's another one of these manufactured, figures lie, liars figure. And if you repeat a lie long enough, people will start believing it. But the fact of the matter, like I also said in yesterday's video, which I think everyone should see that, because that's going to be a classic. Because it's really kind of one of the final morning shows. I mean, this is a morning show, and I will be back from time to time. I mainly wanted, I'm giving the theme of the duality, but the primary reason was to explain that I'm going to be doing more garden videos and nature, things about life and living, the duality of my life. How I'm more moving in the direction of sanity as opposed to what this crazy insanity that's going on out there. But I mentioned that how, once the civil rights movement pretty much succeeded by the 70s, the same with the feminist movement and things of that nature. And so that, that was all, they resurrected this because somehow they started pushing around old radical books from the 60s and, rules for radicals or whatever, you know what I mean? And these crazies decided to figure ways to disrupt and divide people and all that kind of stuff. And they just used it, and people fell for it, young kids, because they were so far removed from it that they don't know. I was thinking about that. I know people that were born in the 70s. Okay. So if they're born in the 70s, they're in their 40s. Okay. 40-ish. No, in their 40s, actually. If you were born in the 70s, right, 30, 50, you could be 51 years old if you were born in 1970. So yeah, you're in your on average, you would be in your 40s. So if you had a child in your, 20s, up to 25 or something, you could have a kid who's just graduated college. He's got a student loan bill, and who's out there with with the stick in their hand with the magic marker sign protesting this, that, the other. But this person would have been born in the 70s. So by the time they came of age, it was the 80s and maybe Ronald Reagan and stuff. So they don't really have any firsthand experience of the civil rights movement, the feminist movement, the Vietnam War, the protests, Lyndon Johnson, the Gulf of Tonkin lie that escalated the Vietnam War. They don't know that Nixon ended the Vietnam War, more or less. They just think of Watergate. They don't know what classic R&B was like, big music in the 70s. They don't know any of that stuff because they were infants, toddlers. They were crawling, right? So they've raised children in the 80s, which is like some of the most MTV generation and some of the most ridiculous music and TV sitcoms and odd shows were so unrealistic. And their children now are out on the streets, clueless about, the world. And they've resurrected stuff that was resolved and over before their parents were born. You see? So you can't talk to them about this stuff. You know, it just doesn't work. I swear I have this one friend that seems to phone always magically. Whenever I get on an issue like this, it's spilled some water here or some root beer soda. That her phone magically seems to like disconnect or something. Like she has an audio problem anytime I bring up any of this kind of stuff. Though she denies it. But she won't watch these things. People don't watch long form videos. They just want sound bites. They just want to see the headline. They want to see the meme. They want to see the post. They want to see the TikTok video, or maybe, I don't know, sometimes they'll watch a 10 or 12 minute, like max. You know, they don't want to see this at all. And they don't want to hear any of this stuff. They don't want to hear factual stuff. They don't want some guy who's like explaining details and holding up a flashcard, you know, and saying, hey, and is giving and is already, well, they have an argument brewing in their head. I'm already have diffused that argument, you know, before they get a chance to express it. The duality of existence in 2021. You know, it's amazing. Irreconcilable differences in a once united country is now disunited states. You know, this is a geographic location. It's just America, you know, a portion of America. Like I say, the oddest thing about this whole place is that you can't call it the United States. Even before, calling it the United States was fine because that was the name of the country, but you know, you couldn't call a person a United Stater or something like that. So they'd call us Americans when you traveled, wherever I went. That's what they said when you traveled to Europe or Asia. They'd be like, you're American. But, you know, it's always that funny thing, like I said before. Well, you know, yeah, it's America, but so is Canada, and so is Mexico, and so is Central America and South America. So aren't they all American? You know, and they have countries that have names, right? Canada's Canada. So where does America begin? You know, where does the American? How are you an American? Like if you go to the border between the U.S. and Canada, where do you stop being a United States American and a Canadian American? In other words, when do you start calling somebody a Canadian only? But and the point where you get low enough, and then suddenly they're just an American. It's pretty funny. It's like Mexico. You know, when you're in Mexico, you're a Mexican. But once you cross the border, there are people that are American. And so, and the funniest thing is when a Mexican comes into America, they call him a Mexican American. That's like another weird thing, right? Oh, what are you? Mexican American, right? How could you be a Mexican? Are you a Mexican or you're American? Anyway, I just wanted to pop on, you know, and just make that point. You know, I'll be doing more garden videos than this. If I wouldn't have woken up at 3:00 in the morning, I probably wouldn't have done this. And I did get that hat. Game over. And I still right back here, I still have my Codex book and all that great solar stuff, which I advise you to get. Yeah. It's just for you. Nobody's buying it. But I made it for you folks. I mean, I got it, picked it, tested it, did all that for you so that you don't have to deal with things like what happened in Texas this past winter. We're in tornado season and, the inevitable power failures. Then it'll be hurricane season, and then we'll be back into winter and power failures again and all that stuff. It's like, get yourself some power, get yourself one of these devices. So when the power goes out, you can charge your cell phone, run your laptop, turn on some lights, have a flashlight, listen to the, NOAA weather, know what's going on in your area and all that kind of stuff. And the iconic, everything you know is wrong. Get the gear, the shirts. All right, I'm going to end it there. Good luck.
Good morning.
Good morning. Have today's hump day, the 7th of April. Have the rest of your week good. I'm going to be out in the garden probably today, and I'll probably take some more video or at least some more pictures. Check out my Instagram page. And like I said, I may or may not talk to you this way tomorrow or as much as I have. I mean, I've done this for now. I think it's close to 60 days running it was. So it's like, do you know anybody else who broadcasts 2-hour shows or 2-hour shows 60 days in a row? I have over 200, probably about 200 videos on YouTube right now. So if there's not enough, I advise you to go back just because it's the morning show. It's not like it's, about, since it's not a news show, it's about ideas, things like today's theme, the duality of existence in 2021, So go back and watch some of the other shows. It's a library of at least, out of the 55 or 60, whatever it is, live shows, I guarantee you that well more than that, the majority of them, there's a takeaway you'll get from every one of them. And besides, when there's nothing on Netflix or YouTube, when all the YouTubers are just showing off all the money they made, I never made any money on this. I never made a penny on this. I'm demonetized. When all these other places are turning into YouTube millionaires and just saying, hey, look, we just bought a $60,000 car. Look, we just did this. Look, we went on vacation in Hawaii. Well, when you get bored of all that, turn on my shows and learn the truth. Have a great day. Cheers. See you in the garden. Take care. Bye.